that it would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you.
Alright, so starting a new semester. Today I thought we'd take a few minutes to try to explain what you can expect from the class. So I thought I'd make a video about it and share with you guys. That way, we're going to be stuck together, sort of like stuck together for a semester, and I want this to be as pleasant as possible. And it's really, really important to know what's expected and what you're signing up for. So here we go. Let's take a few minutes. First thing I'd like to say is the big question. This is $1 million question. It's the elephant in the room. People always ask me, teacher, Javier, why do I have to learn this? Why do I have to learn algebra? Why do I have to learn calculus? And even if they don't ask me explicitly with words, they ask me in other ways. For example, they'll ask me, is this going to be on the test? In other words, what they're saying is, I don't see any reason to learn it other than just to pass it. Why should I be here? Why should I learn this other than just to pass it and get the grade? So in many ways, this is the elephant in the room. Why should we be here? My kids ask me, why should I go to school? My students ask me, why should I take this class? It's not a small question. I'm sure you will encounter it if you haven't already asked yourself. Your kids, your grandkids, everybody's asking. So it merits some attention. That's why I've been thinking about it for a long time. Decades probably. And if we miss up on this question, then everything is lost. This question has to be addressed correctly, in my opinion. So that's the elephant in the room. What are we doing here? The typical answer is often offered as, well, we're here just for the grade. That's what many students feel like that. They're here just so that they can get the grade, so they can pass the class and go on to the next class. And unfortunately, that leaves a lot to be desired, because if you're just here for the grade, or say for the prerequisite, then prerequisite for what? For another class? And what's the purpose of that class? Well, it's a prerequisite for another class. It just becomes a parade of nonsense, meaningless things that are just prerequisites for another meaningless prerequisite, and so on and so forth. And you can ask the same thing of the teacher. Why is a teacher here? Not just a teacher. You can ask that of any profession. Why is your doctor there? Why is your pastor there? Why is your policeman there? If your teacher or your pastor or your teacher is just there for the paycheck, then it's a little disappointing, I think, to say the least. For our class, if you're just here for the grade or the prerequisite, and I'm just here for the paycheck, then it's the biggest, grossest waste of human time ever. It would be such a waste of your 3.5-pound brain and my 3.5-pound brain, and all of the times that we meet and all the effort. It's just simply a waste of time to do all this for the grade. There must be something beneath it, something more meaningful than just a grade or just a paycheck. And so I'll stop right here and say it. If you just want a grade, if you just want to go with the flow, go through the motions, you might be a very unhappy person in this class, because we're going to do a lot more than just what it would take to get the grade. If you just want the status quo, the normal, you're better off taking a different class. Okay, this is not that kind of class where you're just here for the grade and I'm just here for the paycheck. I won't have any part of that, because it's not what I want to do with my life. Okay, we're going to try to do something a lot more meaningful, a lot deeper. So every relationship has clear and agreed expectations, or it should have anyways, a good relationship, whether they're stated or not. And so that's why these are huge questions. It's the elephant in the room. And to try to explain it, if this is not why we're here, to try to explain it, I conceived of some story. I made up the story to try to explain what we're doing here. Okay, to try to explain the elephant in the room. So the story goes something like this. This is a story about cooking. It's a story about your life and my life and everybody's life. And it goes like this. I reckon that in life there are 4 types of cooks, at least 4 types of cooks. The first type of cook is a microwave cook. So a microwave cook will take the microwave. Here we go, some excellent fancy microwave. It has a bunch of little buttons, and all you do is press the buttons, and you could take your meal here, whatever. You pop it in there, you press the buttons, and boom, a couple minutes later you're done. Happy as can be. Now, I'm not trying to judge here or anything. In fact, I don't like to judge at all. There are definitely pros and cons to the microwave approach. On the good side, it's very efficient. You won't starve. You could put food on your stomach. There's a lot to be said about the microwave person. The microwave person, I mean, look, maybe there's like a homeless person here laying on the ground and poor person starving, and here comes the microwave cook and cooks something and gives it to the homeless person, and all of a sudden they rise and they be happy again. Who knows? I'm not judging here. This is just one way of cooking. It has a lot of positive things to be said. Yet consider the following. There's another type of cook that's not a microwave cook. Let's clear this page here. The next type of cook might be something like a recipe cook. Now, what does that mean? The recipe will have something like this. It'll say, you know, here's a recipe, right? And it'll say 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of flour, 3 cups of sugar. That's a sugary thing. Anyways, the recipe cook will take that one by one. It'll check it off. The cook will check off everything that he does on the recipe, and carefully cooks it, and then finally he gets something, and maybe he's happy. Alright, so that's the second type of cook. Now again, we're not trying to judge. I'm just saying it's a different level of cooking. This one just pops it in and a couple buttons and you're done. The recipe cook is a little bit more involved. Actually, some people think it's fun. You try to mix the ingredients according to the recipe, and you get something. Not bad. All right, there's a third type of cook. There's a third type of cook here that would be called, what I would call, is the professional cook. The professional cook knows all the recipes. Not only knows them by heart, they've done it so many times where they don't even need to look at the recipe. They'll just go to the kitchen and whip a few things, and you're done. And you could say maybe it's a deeper, a little bit more advanced type of cooking. Again, I'm not judging. There's pros and cons everywhere. But it is just another type of cook, okay, professional cook. Yet there's a fourth type of cook. And what does the fourth type of cook do? Well, let me give you a hint. These are carne asada fries. Now, carne asada is supposed to go on tacos. Fries are supposed to go with ketchup. Who in the right mind would say, you know what, I'm going to change all that forever. I'm going to take the carne asada and not put them on the tacos, but put them on the fries. And boom, you got something amazingly new that was never, ever, ever done before, out of thin air, out of creativity, out of imagination. That's the beauty of the 3.5-pound brain. The beauty of being human. That we can create things out of nothing. That type of cook, that's a chef right there. Somebody who invents something totally new. It was never written on any recipe. It didn't go into the microwave because there was nothing to put in there. It's just a different level of cooking. It's the chef. The chef invents things out of nothing, out of pure imagination. That, my friends, is a fourth level of cooking. And so, at first you may think, well, why is this guy telling a story about cooking? At first you might think this is just a story about cooking, but it's not a story about cooking. It's really a story about your life and about our purpose here. Let me elaborate on that. So a few summers ago, I was having some chest pains, and I went to the doctor and I said, hey, I'm having these chest pains. I think might be something wrong with my heart, and I was really, really stressed, and they did this EKG. I have no idea why I was having chest pains, but I was having them, and I had no clue why. And I said, hey, can you do something on me, some tests to make sure I'm okay? And so the doctor said, hey, go to this EKG lab, and blah blah blah. They stick these things on me, My muscles are a little bigger than that. But they stick these things on you, and then they give you something. I have no idea why I was having chest pains, but at the end they give you this EKG report. It looks like there's a bunch of little waves, and they each have a name: AVR, AVF, V3, blah blah blah. And I grabbed the report here, and I was walking back to the doctor, and I was all stressed because I was like, man, what the hell does this mean? And I was on my phone frantically on the internet trying to figure out what does an AVF wave mean, and blah blah blah, and how do I figure out if this is normal or not. And of course I had a slow internet connection. That was before broadband and all that. And so I get to the doctor and I still can't figure out what these wavy things mean, despite all my efforts. And she looks at me and I look at her and she looks at me again and she goes, well, I guess you saw that your EKG is normal. And I said, no, I was trying to figure that out. How did you know it's normal? And she goes, oh, it says right here, normal. And I just started laughing. I was like, oh, okay, it does say it's normal. So my point is, this is not an indictment on the doctor, right? I'm sure she was doing her job and she's an excellent doctor. But I just want to point out one thing. When you take that paper and just look at, oh, it says normal, what kind of doctor are you being there? Are you being inventing stuff? No, or it's just a microwave doctor. Just push the buttons and you saw what the microwave thing did. And that's how you got your job done. Again, there's no judgment. People do great things by just being a microwave cook. But that's the kind of doctor that she was acting like in that instant. Or that's the only kind of skill that it took. It was just a microwave skill to do that. I'm sure she's a chef and all that, but at that point, that's what it was. Now, why is this story about your life and my life and everybody's life? Is because everybody, no matter what you do, whether if you're going to be a physician, a teacher, a cook, an artist, a musician, a policeman, a politician, a college dropout, whatever you're going to be, you're going to start cooking and you're going to be one of these probably, or some combination of these. And that's why it's a story about all of our lives. Everywhere you go, if you look at a priest, your next time you go to church and look at the pastor, look at him, he's probably one of these, or somewhere in between, combination of these. You know, your person at the DMV or whatever, your governor, everybody cooks, and everybody either just goes with the status flow or has learned a recipe, and every once in a while there's a chef that changes everything, that changes the game completely and reinvents the world. And boy, that's a nice feeling. We're in this class here learning mathematics. It's not going to be an exception. That's why this is a story about all of us in our class. When you solve math problems, you can solve them just by being a microwave student. Just tell me which buttons to push and I'll solve it. That's a microwave student, math student. You could take it a step further and say, you know what, I already know how to solve this. You learn the recipe and so on and so forth. But every once in a while there's a chef that invents everything new. And that is an amazing feeling. That's why this is a story about all of us. So let me continue. Let me give you some examples of people through all walks of life who have chefed the hell out of life, and it's admirable and it's inspiring, I think. Here's a college dropout who reinvented what it means to be a college dropout. He pretty much changed the world. You may have heard of him. There's another guy. Before Auguste Rodin, nobody ever thought that this is the way a thinker should look. And now this image is ubiquitous. Everybody in the entire universe has seen it. Chefed it. There was no recipe to do this. There was no microwave. He didn't push some buttons, a 3D printer to do this. He chefed the hell out of this sculpture and changed the world in some way by doing so. This guy, a musician, Beethoven. Look at these notes. Before he chefed this thing, there was no recipe, no microwave. There's nothing ever in the world that sounded like this. Nothing started like this. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. There's nothing even that the audience had ever heard that even resembled something like that. And he, with his 3.5-pound brain, chefed the hell out of that. Changed the world forever. So there are chefs everywhere in all walks of life. These guys were bicycle guys, the Wright brothers. They had a bicycle shop and they said, you know what, we're going to reinvent things. And they were chefs. They invented this flight. They pioneered the flight process, invented airplanes and whatever. Amazing, amazing. Their museum is in the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., by the way. It's an amazing display. Inspiring. These guys are chefs, bicycle guys, bicycle shop owners. Didn't even go to college. This guy, even if you're a lawyer, you could become a chef lawyer. Have you ever seen a lawyer that reinvents what it means to be a lawyer? He was a lawyer, and he said, you know what, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. And so he did. So that's why I think this is really a story about all of us, all of our lives. You're going to be either a microwave cook or a chef. And you're going to have, you might choose consciously or unconsciously, but you will be. This guy, Einstein, has like 100 quotes on this idea about being a chef. But he doesn't use the word chef, he uses the word imagination. And you see quotes like this all over the place. Logic can take you from A to B. That's like saying the microwave or the recipe. The recipe can take you from A to B. But imagination, the chef in you, will take you everywhere. That's deep. This is Einstein. Somewhat smart guy, I don't know. And he said it in many different ways. Education is not the learning of facts. It's not just learning the recipe. It's using the imagination. I told you, he said it so many different ways. There's like tons of quotes. I like this one. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift. Rational mind is a faithful servant. But of course we create a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the chef. He also said this. Just kidding. So we're ready to address the elephant in the room. What are we doing here? So the purpose of this class, I think, on a good day, well, the purpose of any class, I think, there's a big debate about what education should do. Some people say it should just prepare you to be a good citizen. Some people say it should prepare you to go into the assembly lines, the so-called conceptual assembly line of society. To enlighten you, those are some of the possible answers that have been offered throughout history. So I had to think about this question long and hard, and this is what I came up with. In my view, on a good day, a good education should help you make progress along this type of cooking. It should help you first become proficient at just surviving, being able to push the buttons. And if you're already there, maybe a good education should help you learn recipes. And if you're already there, well, then a good education should help you become even more proficient at that. And if you're already there, well, an amazing education would be one that inspires you to chef a little, chef around, invent something and make it your own. I'm not saying we're all going to be chefs, but especially at math, or any subject. But I think that all of us are chefs at something. For example, when I drive my car, I don't think to myself, you know what, I can design this car better. I can chef the hell out of this car. I don't think that. When I'm driving a car, as a driver, I'm a very, very microwave driver. I just push the buttons and go. But I go fast. When I'm watching TV, I don't think I'm going to redesign the TV. So every person is more than just one thing. You're a parent. You're a cook. You're a waitress. You're a lot of things, and maybe in some of those, maybe in storytelling, you're a chef. I don't know. But a good education should help you make progress along this line, I think. I'm not talking about a vocational school. Vocational schools are different. If you're just a truck driver, if you're going to school to be a truck driver or an X-ray technician, all you need to do is just learn the recipe or the microwave, learn which buttons you got to press, and that's it. You can pay your bills. That's called a vocational education. But I don't teach at a vocational school, so I'm not talking about that. Again, no judgment. I got a lot of friends who are truck drivers. But we're trying to do something different here. A good education should help you make progress. That's why we're here. If you're here and you stick around in the class, hopefully you will make progress wherever you're at. Will inspire you to go to the next level. So another very, very important aspect of the purpose of this class is that you should experience some good cooking. When I was your age and I was taking this class or a similar class, I never ever saw anybody chef anything in math. It was always in math. Again, this doesn't just apply to math, but all subjects. I saw people pushing the buttons. I saw people giving me the recipe, and I saw them telling me just do the recipe. Like, what? And then I discovered a whole new world. You can chef around in math? No way. Get out of here. You can use your creativity No way! I couldn't believe my eyes, and when I saw that, it changed my life forever. And so I think a very, very important point of this class is, even if you're not going to be a chef in math, you never know. There's only two kinds of people in the world: those who love math and those who don't love math yet. But, is that funny, Diego? My buddy's here. Say hi.
Hi.
So, even if you're not going to be a chef in math, everyone should experience some amazing mathematics, some amazing cooking. That's going to be an important purpose of our class. Okay. Second, improve your cooking skills. You should, by the end of the course, improve your wherever you're at. I hope that we can help you, inspire you to move on to the next level, or if you're going to be at this level in your life, at least become a better, more professional cook. Okay, and of course, that's what I just said. If possible, we'll take you to the next level. That right there is the purpose of this class. I've thought about this for years and years. When people ask me, why should I learn algebra? This is why. You should experience some amazing cooking, and you should become better at it, and if possible, you should go to the next level. And let me emphasize, why is that so important? It's so important not just for you, but for the world. And let me explain why it's so important. This guy knew something about inventing and about chefing. Tesla, yeah, before there was a car named Tesla, there was a guy named Tesla, one of the most amazing inventors of all times. He was the geek of geeks. He had this idea where he would make a tower, and from the tower he would charge everybody's iPhones in the entire town. But he's got something to say about invention. He says, it's an amazing quote, I love it. I don't think there's any thrill that can go through it, the human heart, and that is felt by the inventor as he sees some creation of the brain unfolding in text. Such emotions make a man or a woman. This is outdated, by the way. Now they have these people called women that they invent things. I don't know. It makes you forget food, sleep, friends, love, everything. This guy is feeling something amazing, amazing. Now, if you get this feeling anywhere else, please send me an email. I want to know where else you get this feeling. But I think it has the potential to change your life. I've seen it in my students when they turn in the test and they smile and they say, you know what, teacher, I think I chefed the hell out of that problem. And it's such a nice feeling. It's this kind of feeling, the emotions that make people forget food, sleep, friends, love, everything. I need something that makes me forget food, man, so I can lose some weight. Anyways, this guy had something to say about that, and this is what it does for you. If you get to see if you get to invent something, do a little bit of chefing. But what it does for the world is that all the problems of the world right now, all the obstacles for humans are being solved right now by people who are inventing things. They're chefing things. They're doing things different that are not written on any recipe. So, chefing is such an important thing. It's not just good for you. It's like the best thing you could ever experience, but it's good for the world. It'll make the world a better place. That's why I think this is such an important task. You should experience an amazing cooking in this particular class for mathematics, but this should apply to any class. If you don't see any good cooking in your chemistry, what's the point? Just microwave? Come on. Really? You should improve your skills, and ultimately we want to make you progress along this hierarchy. No judging, just figure out where you're at. Maybe you never knew that you wanted to be a chef. Maybe you knew you could be a chef. We want to discover what your purpose is. They say that there are 2 important days in your life. 2. The first day, the day you were born. The second day, the day you figure out why. Why were you born? Salute to that. All right. Some of you may have turned off the video already or are about to turn it off already, so I want to stop here. In case you don't come back for the course, I want to share just a couple minutes of some amazing cooking, just so that you can see what the hell am I talking about. How can anybody chef anything in math? It's all been all your life, recipes and microwave. If you're sitting at the same place where I was sitting when I was your age, I'd be thinking, there's no such thing as chef. Math is just right brain, blah, blah, blah. All you do is push the buttons and learn the recipe. I know that people think that. So give me about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll show you some amazing cooking, and then we'll wrap this up. All right? So consider, for example, the area of a circle. Everyone who's gone through 3rd and 4th grade knows that the area of a circle is pi r squared. where of course this is the radius. But every microwave student knows that the area is pi r squared, but why? Why is it pi r squared? Where did that come from? And usually people will say, well, I just memorized it. I'm just a microwave cook. My teacher was just a microwave teacher. So check this out. Suppose you take this idea and try to figure out why. Why is that the case? And so one thing that you could do is you could take that circle and you could take some scissors here, maybe change the color on scissors, maybe go yellow, and cut it right along here. Cut it, and now you've got two half circles. And of course everybody knows that the circumference is equal to 2 pi r, and if you don't know that, we could talk about that as well. That's the whole thing, circumference all the way around. So half of that over here would be pi r, and the other half, this part of the circumference, would also be pi r. Okay? So now that white line measures pi r, and this one measures pi r. Alright, then what you could do is you could take your scissors and cut it some more, but this time you cut it from the inside out, but not quite all the way out. You just cut it maybe to where the edge is, but not through the edge. And now what you have here might be something like this. You might have something like this. You have a bunch of cuts here, and maybe we'll go with white here. This is the edge, and then you have something similar over here. You have the edge here, and then maybe you have the other cuts here, and that's what happens when you cut it. And then you could say, well, how big was this? This was This was pi r in length. That's half the circumference, and this was pi r in length. And the height of this was, of course, the distance from the edge to the center, which would be r. Now you could stick this together and fill it so that it becomes something like this. So that it becomes something like a solid rectangle. And of course you have all the cuts here, but there are no more holes because the holes in one are filled by the spikes on the other, and so now it looks like this. And this is pi r in length, and this is r. So what is the area? Look at this. We've turned the circle into a rectangle. Why? Because rectangles are super easy to find the area for. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. Areas for circles are super easy. The area is base times the height. So therefore it's pi r, that's the base, times the height is r. Now how much is that? I reckon that's pi r squared. Yippee-ki-yay. You see why they pay me? Sometime, somewhere in the earth, somebody figured this out. They chefed the hell out of this problem. And I have a feeling that when they did chef the hell out of that problem, they were probably feeling like this guy. They were probably feeling like this guy. They probably lost sleep, maybe they lost a few pounds. It was an awesome feeling probably, and that's what I mean. If you don't sign up for the class, at least you just experienced some amazing cooking. Somebody cooked up that problem in a nice way. There it is, just so you don't forget it. All right, so that's the purpose of the class here. We're gonna you like that? Improve your skills. You're gonna experience some amazing cooking, and when possible, we're gonna help you take you to the next level. The very last thing I want to do is just say some things that if we value these things a lot, it's going to change the way we do the class. I don't want you to be an unhappy student. We want this to be a positive experience. So I just want to say a couple of things about the implications of running the class from this point of view, from this perspective. The last thing we're doing, and then alright, so the implications. How do you run a class that emphasizes becoming a chef, or thinking creatively, or using your imagination, as Einstein said? Well, it's not easy, but for sure, in this class we're going to celebrate creativity. That is one of the most important things in the class. Thinking, ideas, that's what's going to solve the problems of the world. Knowledge is not. Knowledge can only take you from A to B. Imagination is where it's at. Imagination is what will help you discover things and make you forget about food and lose weight. That's what the chef said. We will ask questions differently. This is something that people are not used to. So let me give you an example. People are used to questions such as this one. suppose you have 1 divided by I, right? And they tell you to simplify it or rewrite it or whatever. A lot of times teachers will say rationalize the denominator. How do you do that? Well, the standard way of doing it would be to, maybe they have choice A here, the standard way to do it would be to multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. That would be negative I. And then all of it would be good. And so you have other choices, B here, some bad stuff, and C and bad stuff. And of course, what you're supposed to do as a student is you're supposed to select the right answer. You're supposed to say, oh, the answer is A. That's the old way of doing it. And it emphasizes knowledge. It emphasizes recipe. The recipe is you multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. And in this class, we're trying to emphasize creativity and being a chef, not just a recipe cook. So in this class, the question may look differently, and this is what people are not used to. In this class, the question may look like this: 1 over I, and maybe you have a choice such as A, where 1 over I, where you're saying, hey, the idea to simplify this is to multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. But it might have a different idea. Hey, isn't 1 the same thing as negative 1 times negative 1 over I? And isn't that the same thing as I squared times I squared over I? And couldn't I use that to just cancel out one of the i's? Or said differently, I could have a choice C where it says I can exchange the 1, that 1, I can exchange it for I to the 4th. Would this be an equivalent version of that expression? And the answer would be yes. And this one, you can just cancel one of the i's, and so you get I to the 3rd, just like that. That would be a different way to think. It's not emphasizing the standard quote recipe multiplied by the conjugate. It's thinking differently. Hey, what if I chef this? What if I exchange that for something else? Or here's another idea. Here's another idea. Watch this. Suppose you could take this. You take 1 over I. We could try to get that one to 1 if we just multiply 3 more i's there. By adding 3 more i's, you'd have 4 i's on the bottom. And I to the 4th, of course, is 1. So you get 1 over I to the 3rd, which would be I to the 3rd. This would be another way. See? So there's another way to think. This emphasizes not the recipe, but it emphasizes thinking and thinking creatively. And not thinking about the answer, but thinking about 10 different ways to solve the problem. Why? Because creativity is where it's at. Creativity will solve the problems. Why? Because creativity is the thing that's going to make you forget about love and stuff like that. So we will ask questions differently. Here's another idea. If you're a little bit more advanced, you might recognize this. Choice E, you could replace 1 with e to the 360i using Euler's identity. And I, of course, is e to the 90i using Euler's identity. And now it becomes easy because when you have fractions, all you do is subtract the exponents. It would be e to the 270 degrees I. Duh. There's another way to do it. And so there's like 10 different ways to solve this problem. And that's what's going to give you that feeling, the chef feeling, when you create stuff on your own. And so this is the old way of doing things. This is if you go to your tutors or your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend who had math when they were in high school, they'll try to tell you, hey, this is the answer, and that's it. And they're not used to stuff like this, so it may seem awkward to them that you're not really going to trying to get the answer, but you're trying to think. This is kind of a new idea, I think, for a lot of people. It was for me when I was your age. I thought it was just about getting the answer, but little did I know it's about chefing. It's about inventing things out of thin air. And so all my quizzes will have questions that have multiple correct answers. And the idea here is not to just find a right answer. The idea is to think differently about it 5 different ways. And so in this case, you would have to say, this is correct, this is correct, this is correct, this is correct. Oh, and so is this is correct too. And so the correct choice would be all of them. All of my quizzes could have questions where more than one of the answers is correct, and you have to select all the correct ones to get credit. Different way of thinking. That's the implications where we're trying to emphasize, hey, chef mentality. Okay, so this, a lot of people are not used to that. Why do we have so many right answers? This is why. If you ever forget in the middle semester, why do we have so many different answers on the quizzes? This is why. Come back and rewatch the video. Alright, so the questions will be different. We're not caring about answers. If this was a course about just how to get the answers, I would just teach you how to use the calculator. The calculator will give you all the answers, or some Wolfram. The world doesn't need any more knowledge. The world needs more imagination. That's what Einstein says. I don't know. This is a little warning. The stuff may seem incomprehensible to microwave cooks. If you're coming from a different class and you say, you know what, I've never ever thought about math this way. All I know is you give me the recipe and I do it, and that's all I know how to do. Well, there's a whole new world out there, and we're trying to discover that whole new world. So it might take some adjusting, or some of the people that think they know math or their tutors may actually not be well equipped to deal with this type of thinking. It's never been done before. The whole system, the textbooks, the publishers, the curriculum, everything is not really geared towards chefness. It's geared towards microwave cookedness. And so your sources are going to be limited. If you have questions, a lot of times we want to get our fellow students involved or me involved. We're going to have a forum where you can post questions, because the outside world is not ready for so many chefs in one class. Alright. Another thing I should warn you about is grades. Grades are for the birds. I hate grades. They're so meaningless. None of these guys that we talked about earlier, these guys, let's see, where are they? Where are my buddies at? You think that guy was inventing a theory of relativity for a grade? No. You think that guy was inventing turbines and motors and electricity for a grade? No. Everything that has ever happened that was great didn't happen for a grade. Was he doing what he did for a grade? No. Were these guys doing it for a grade? No. Grades are so meaningless. They're for insects. And so I hate grades. And so, but I know they're important for whatever the world thinks they're important. So I will try to de-emphasize grades. I'll make it really, really easy for grades, but it's a double-edged sword. If you're the grade kind of person, you only do things for the grade, and you're only motivated by the grade, and you're not ready for the chefness, this may not be the right class for you. You may end up doing more harm to yourself. So if you're a grades person, don't take this class. This is not about grades. And we don't go by the book. All these ideas, they're different. So I had to rewrite everything. I had to rewrite lectures. There's no book that does things the way I like it, so I had to write it myself, or I'm writing it. The quiz questions. There's no quiz questions that emphasizes this type of thinking, so I had to rewrite all the quiz questions. Everything had to be redone. I spent the last few years writing stuff like this for algebra, for trig, for calculus. So if you're a book person that thinks that the book is sacred and we have to have a book because the book teaches you such good microwave procedures, then this class may not be for you. You may find yourself a very unhappy person in this class. So those are just a few little warnings. We can wrap it up now. If you're up for it, if this sounds like fun to you, we're going to try to take you to the next level. We're going to experience some amazing cooking, and we're going to improve your skills. If you're up for it, come back and let's get started. Alright, I wish you guys all a great semester. Peace.